The Music Retail Show.
Man, Richard, we are here once again, sitting here, having another great conversation, well, soon to be, with, who is our guest right
We got
here?
Ken over here. Ken from KK's Music and Pawn.
And Pawn.
Yeah.
Who's
welcome.
been a longtime friend of yours.
Yes, he's been buying from me about 18 years, give or take. And then prior to that, and you can correct me, Ken, was it Sid? Or who was it? Seth?
You were friends with Sid?
I think so. I can't remember. It was a real small place back over on the back up the road.
Yeah.
Real
So he's
small.
been around for a long time. So yeah, this is an
Uncle Monty.
Yes, this
Uncle
is
Monty.
going to be an awesome episode. That we're going to take a little bit of a side twist, and we're going to get into the pawn industry. And there's no one better than Ken to be the expert on that. So that's what we're going to
it's
talk
very,
about.
very nice of him to come out here. It's freezing cold outside.
It is
Here in
cold.
Tennessee, I think it might actually be snowing outside.
Spitting
Is it?
snow. Drove through the spitting snow to get here.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was just horrible.
Barefoot and everything, right? Welcome, Ken. We're happy you're here, man.
You
Glad I
that
made
about-
it in.
You
What'd
saying
you
that
say?
about people in Tennessee, or
Yeah, it's just you get tired of old people going, "Oh, we walked uphill, it was freezing cold." And,
both ways?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but anyways.
Cool. Well, Ken, yeah, man, it's great you're here. So I'm sure you're going to have a lot of obviously great information. Of course, this is the Music Retail Show, but I think we're going to maybe expand a little bit beyond that.
Absolutely. I think it's very interesting to jump into the pawn side of stuff, because not only do we as a company have just brick and mortar stores, online stores, but we also have a lot of pawn stores that sell guitars, and it's a big part of our business, and we got a lot of great dealers, and it's kind of fun.
We have a lot. Actually, when we were talking with the salesman the other day, we actually have a big percentage of our business is pawn stores that really focus on the MI side of their business, and they do extremely well. So because they can approach musical sales from multiple angles, where obviously we'll get into as music stores want to put something out on the shelf and get a customer walk in and buy it, where the pawn industry can obviously pawn things, finance, do
and we're going to talk about this, and this is kind of a sidebar, but one thing that hopefully we'll touch on is the pawn industry. One thing that I like a whole lot about it is they are much more realistic as far as turning items and just making money, turn and burn it. Where a lot of times music stores, they camp on certain things and they don't want to let it go. That's a cool piece, and if I can't get this margin, then I'm not going to sell it. Where the pawn industry is really, really some of the best business people that I've ever been around.
Yep,
that's
absolutely.
the truth.
Absolutely. So Ken, that's why
we got Ken. Is there a setup? We got you now, man.
I don't know about being the best business person. My wife wouldn't tell you that if she was here.
So the best in the industry, Ken.
Oh man.
So Ken, let's jump in. Like I said, we're going to bounce around, but we're just going to hang out, have fun, and like I said, we're looking forward to just getting a ton of information about the pawn industry. I think our music stores will find it very interesting. Again, I honestly think this is God honest truth that the pawn industry has some of the smartest business people in there, and I appreciate what they do. But when we want to start off, and I want to get a little bit of a background of you, and not only you, but your father. And I want to talk about how long is KK's Music or Music and Pawn or whatever. Give us the name that you go by. How long have you guys been in business?
I'll give you a quick, brief history.
All right.
Try to give you the short version of it. My dad took an early retirement in '78. He worked at the Air Force Base in security there, and he took an early retirement. And I think he was probably about the same age I am now. He was 55 or 56. He took a big leap of faith because he didn't know anything about running a business. I was a sophomore in high school, and they had a program back then. You could get out at 1 o'clock and go work. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I'd get out at 1 o'clock and go in, and he had one employee, and he was a musician, and he was a manager, and he'd been in the pawn industry prior, and that's how I started learning to play guitar. From this guy. I would sit around and drive everybody crazy by plugging electric guitars up and playing too loud and couldn't play a lick and trying to learn.
Stairway.
Play Stairway to Heaven and aggravate everybody. So that was in '78, and I worked my way up through high school. And when I was a senior, I was in a program. It was called Distributive Education, and I got out at 10:30. And went to work every day. So it was me and this man, Wallace Haley. He was her first employee and her first manager, and we had the Alvarez guitar line from St. Louis Music,
yes,
and crate amps,
oh, wow.
and the old wooden crate
amps. I remember crate amps.
Good old days,
yep. And it was just a lot of fun. I graduated from high school in '80, and I went to Tennessee Tech and graduated from there in '84. And I would come back and work in the summers. And about '82, we built a new building there. My dad built a new building where we're at now in Manchester.
Yeah.
And I got out of school and graduated, like I said, in '84, and came back and started doing the pawn stuff full time. And I just had a love for music. I don't know. That's why we kind of gravitated toward the side of music. So one of the first hires I did when I got out of college, I hired a guy that was a manager at Hughleys Music in Tullahoma.
Yes, I
used to have a Hughleys there.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Is that the same as Columbia?
Yep, same family.
Okay.
They had one downtown Nashville.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And, I don't know if they're still in business. I know they're not Nashville or Tullahoma, but
they're in Columbia still. Yeah.
Anyway, we started, picking up lines and stuff, and it's probably maybe, 85. I went to the first NAMM show in New Orleans this summer.
Yeah.
And picked up some really good lines. We got the Fender line and, maybe a few
And you did
other
that
lines.
as a pawn shop.
Yes, and it was extremely difficult back then.
I was going to say that's got to be rare to them because they're at the time they're like, what the heck?
It was tough. I can remember, just having a few lines and being so proud that we got
It's
that
an
stuff.
accomplishment.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
So
it was
I
a
didn't
big
know that
deal.
you worked there that long. I kind of had a vision in my head that your dad ran the place for a season, and then you kind of slowly came into it. But I mean, it sounds like you kind of
actually in '78 he just opened that store. Actually, he took early retirement in '80 and started working there full time.
Yeah.
After it kind of got going, but he borrowed a lot of money and went out on a limb, and then took a lot of his early retirement money in '80 and put it into the business.
Wow.
Okay.
I mean, he took a pretty big chance.
Pretty brave.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
a lot of the other guys that 55, that's pretty early to pull your money out and
really.
start doing something. Even back then, and the economy wasn't in that great shape back then either. Everything was pretty shaky. Interest rates were
they were high.
18%. If you went to borrow any money from a bank or something, I don't know, they were 16, 18%, somewhere in that neighborhood. I guess.
I remember about that time, and I think I've told this story before, but I'll never forget. I was in Yuma, and I was with my grandfather, and we were coming out of a pool supply, and I think it was Jimmy Carter president.
In what,
76 to 80, I think.
Yeah,
Reagan
so
got
Reagan
elected,
was
maybe in
elected in
80,
80.
Yes.
something like that. Yeah.
So it was about that time, and my grandfather came out, and he wasn't an angry guy, but he was just mad. And then I'll never forget, he gets in there and he bangs his fist on the top of the console of the dash of the truck, and I was like, oh no, he's mad. I've never seen him like this. And he was talking about interest rates.
Yeah.
And it was during that time. And I remember, you're right, they were sky high.
Crazy.
And that had to have been a tough time to be in business.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then I can remember after we got a few lines and we was rocking along there and we was doing really well, and we had so much stuff in pawn and so much inventory, and for some reason I just thought it would be a good idea to open another store in Tullahoma, so we opened that store, or basically I opened that store in '89.
Okay.
Summer of '89.
Okay.
And it really.
And you guys did you guys
open in
build
late
that?
fall. We had a lease over there in Tullahoma, and we stayed at that location for several years before we moved to our current location, which we own now.
Okay.
On Jackson Street there, but we started that in very end of '89, first of '90, somewhere around there.
Wow.
That store there. And
so you guys came
that was
through some hard
pre-internet.
times.
Yeah, that was pre-internet, and they was some catalogs and that mail order and that kind of stuff. But back in the '80s and the early '90s, you could make some money in the music business.
Well, everybody stayed
They wouldn't
local.
map, and then they
no, everybody stayed local. So how long was your father involved day to day at the store?
Let's see,
because he's 93.
Yeah, he's 93 now, so he's probably been out of day to day stuff. I don't know, probably 95, 96, or maybe 2000. I mean, he would come down there, but I was kind of doing both stores.
Yeah.
And then, recently, last summer, my son opened a store in McMinnville.
Yeah, I want to talk about
really?
it. Yes.
2017, we bought a former pawn shop from a friend of mine I'd known a long time and had the property there. And It's turned out to be a really good move, and we're putting a little bit of music stuff in there at a time. It seems like Mac Melville's kind of hungry for some music stuff too, and so started off with strings and accessories. And
so this is 3 generations. You got your father, you got you, and now you got your son Zach.
Yes,
who Zach's cool. I like Zach. I remember him.
Player?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. He's a lot better musician than his dad is. He grew up around, be playing in bands.
But I remember Zach just as a little kid, man, and then now he's a big old boy. I mean, he's probably 260, 6 foot.
He's
something.
a big old boy.
He is.
He kind of did the same route I did. He was lucky enough to have a scholarship at Tech in the athletic department. That's what got my college education paid for. So luckily, I knew some people still up there, and he went up there to Tech and got a degree in business like I did, and now he's running a pawn shop.
That's awesome. And now, how old is he? 23, 24?
Zach's 24.
24. That's amazing.
It's great.
It really is.
It's working.
I mean, I seen an ad the other day with him in it. And it kind of made me proud because I was like, man, I remember him as a little squirter running around.
Where'd you see that ad? What was it?
It was on. I think it was on Facebook.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's comical. We'll pull it up and you'll show it. His personality is all over that. It kind of makes me want to go up to pop into his store one day just for pure fun. And
His Zach's musical career is funny though because he started off playing drums. No knock on drummers there.
Hey now.
And then he became a musician.
He's a smart kid, man. That's why I like him so much.
And he's a really good bass player, and he's a really good acoustic guitar player.
Yeah.
And he's got a little acoustic gig thing he does now. Him and one of his friends. And he's a good player.
He's a good kid. I like him. I like talking to him. I like hanging out with him.
He needs to come in. I haven't seen him in I've seen a little while.
I should have brought him down here.
Should have brought him today.
Yeah.
But I got to talk about my wife Nancy and my other daughter Isabella real quick. If they watch this,
no, I was going to bring up Izzy because we call her Izzy, right?
Yeah, Izzy. Yeah.
And she's fun too.
She's 21 and she's at University of Alabama in Huntsville. And she's got a scholarship playing soccer.
Yes.
Okay.
And she's a fun girl too. I like
real athletic girl.
Yeah, it was a couple months ago. I got a chance to hang out with her for probably 15, 20 minutes, and again, I remember her running around just as a little squirter out here, and that was fun. She's a good girl.
If I cared as much about my grades as she did, I'd be
really. I didn't know
doctorate somewhere or something. She's so smart.
So and your wife Nancy, she's awesome.
Nancy, yeah.
I love talking with her, hanging out with her.
Put up with me since 1990.
She puts up with a lot of crap, man.
She keeps me straight.
Yeah, she's like Wonder Woman. To deal with you, man, that's a woman. You better keep her. You better keep her.
She cracks a whip, man. I'm telling you.
You know she can do better, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. That's for you, Nancy.
Oh man.
No, you got a great family.
I do, and I've been very blessed and lucky, and say a lot of prayers, humble about that.
Oh no, you got a good family,
got 2 good kids.
Yes.
Great wife.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The key is not to screw it up. That's the
don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. And your dad. I mean, I remember, and we're kind of going side of what we're here to talk about. But I remember years and years ago, I used to enjoy firing your father up because there's a couple topics that I can bring up, and we won't go into them right now.
Walmart.
Walmart. All right. I guess he did. I was going to say this is going to turn into
Walmart.
Yeah,
go crazy.
Yeah, you can't say Bush or Walmart.
Yeah.
It would turn into a political podcast real fast.
Or you can say Amazon to me, I guess.
Is that it?
That'd be my buzzword.
We got all them triggers, but I would do that. And I remember a couple times when Ken would come in the warehouse, and you could tell the stress level was a little high. You had a lot going on, and I would start. I remember one time we were over here, and he came up and he goes, why did you do that?
Yeah.
He was just so frustrated. Yeah. He's like, why did you do that? And his father was just going off, and it was awesome, man. I miss that. That was great times. All I had to do is bring up a couple trigger words, and man, that set him off, and it was awesome. So I appreciate his dad. I mean, not only is he 93, open up a pawn industry, but World War II vet. I mean, that right there is iconic, man. I mean, you got to be proud of your dad.
Sure.
I know you are. He's a great man, served this country. He's awesome. And then the Colonel, you got to say hi to the Colonel today.
We have to give a shout out to John. We're going to go see him a little later.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and maybe one day we'll have him in here. And we'll talk about doing pickups.
Matter of fact, John was he was in Fort Rucker in training to be a helicopter pilot, and he went to that first NAMM show in New Orleans with me.
Oh, really?
Did
he helped me pick out some lines and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's when you guys met?
We went to college together at Tech and became friends up there and played in a band a short time together and stuff. And it's funny because back then, all the stars was there. Like Eddie Van Halen was there. And they were approachable. And we had a conversation with Brian May. And, just didn't think that much about it. John Entwistle was there. You could go over there and talk to him.
Well,
now it's all...
they stay away.
I
remember that the winter show early on, somewhere around about those times, where Kiss was there. You had Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, and they're walking around, and their bodyguards were Budweiser girls. They're in bikinis, in Budweiser bikinis.
Girls, I remember that. Yeah.
And so I tell people some of that stuff today, and some of them that have gone to the NAMM show, that I don't think they can see how it was back when. But it was that way.
I've got to get back out to LA sometime because I've not been in.
You need to go this year.
Hey, we're going. We're going this year.
I might try to do that.
No, it'll be fun. We got some cool stuff.
We've been talking about going back, and it's just so many people. It's hard to get around and stuff.
It is
busy, but
yeah.
It's awesome.
It is.
Well, hey, we want to maybe jump into
let's actually talk about what we're here for.
Industry,
yeah, so I'd like to jump in and talk about, and not to get too serious too fast, but profit centers in the pond industry. And what I mean by that is I kind of want everybody listening to kind of get an overall view of what goes on in the pond industry, because when I look at it, it might be different, and you can correct me on it. I view the pond guys as they know a little bit of everything. It is a very complicated business because you got electronics, you've got chainsaws, you got gold, you've got ponds, you got musical instruments. There's so many things going on at any given time. So give us an overview of maybe what your store and others look like in the pond industry.
Well, I'll start maybe with our Tullahoma store. That's probably our best store we've got right now, our biggest store. I'll just start with the music side and work through the departments. On the music side, we just have two great employees that's been with us forever, Mike Smotherman, Danny Freeman. They've worked with us since the early 90s. Danny's our main installation sound engineer guy.
Yeah.
He's probably
smart guy.
He's an old school sound engineer that used to roll out a 24 or 32 channel board with a rack of compressors and delays and all that stuff and hook it up. That's obsolete now. That of course we're all using digital stuff, But he's one of those guys that been on tour, been on the road in the 80s with some of the metal bands and that type of stuff. And in the early 90s, we went to several schools about installations and kind of got more into the church business and did a lot of we do a lot of installations like for high school football stadiums or basketball arenas and stuff.
PA
like
systems.
Yeah, do a lot of.
And that's a solid part of your music side of your business.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it. I mean, we stay really, really busy on that end of it. And then the other employee that's kind of like the manager of the music side is Mike Smotherman, and he does all the accessory ordering and
now when you say music side, explain to everybody listening, because obviously they can't see. It's kind of like you have two stores. Is that accurate?
If you just drew a line down the middle of that store in Tullahoma, half of it's music and half of it's
so you technically got a music store and a pond store in one location.
It's a full-on combo store. We carry a lot of accessories and do real well with accessories. Everything, from cables, and we have our own brand on our cables, that we get from folks and stuff like that.
Do you find that's common in the pond industry? How you've got your store set up?
I don't know. I've been in a lot of pawn shops, but I've never seen anybody that I don't think that does what all the hats that we wear. Because golly, I mean, we've got 2 trucks, and we used to do a lot more live production, and we're kind of scaling that back because we're getting older and we just don't have the crew. And
there's not a whole lot of money in that, is there?
It's just tough in a small town. It's just really, really tough. I mean, we have done what we like to refer to as, washed up. Well, I shouldn't say that washed up musicians, but people that was big in the '90s. It's still touring.
Yeah, because I was going to bring up Brett Michaels.
Like Brett Michaels. Danny did sound for him a couple of years ago. He did come and did a gig at Winchester. We did stuff for him, but we're kind of scaling a lot of that back.
When his hat came off?
I don't know about it. Ask Danny about all that.
Ken's like, I can't confirm or deny.
I actually
you got to watch out for the questions that he asks, because he'll try to get you in trouble.
I know on the monitors that they had taped up what town he was in, where the.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's
smart,
and they had big orange fluorescent tape around the monitors where we wouldn't walk off the stage. So I remember that. So it's about all.
That's smart. So what else you got going on?
But that's on the music side, and we've got several lines over there. Like we've been PV dealers forever.
Yes,
we're doing really well with Mackie right now. We've of course come down here and bought from you guys forever, Marshall, and we're doing real well with Marshall amps and Eden bass amps, and we're doing really good with Pearl drums. They just kind of like took off, and I think you kind of get lucky on some of that stuff. You just kind of fall into it. And Audio-Technica microphones, we sell a ton of wireless microphones.
Really? Yeah. And is that a lot to the churches and the church
a lot
community?
Of churches. I think what we've seen in the music, what's helped us a lot lately, it's not as many people are playing in clubs as much as more people are playing praise bands at church and stuff like that.
And
that's where all the musicians are. Yeah.
Well, but that's great though, because you probably have more customers out there.
Oh yeah.
It kind of opens up everything. In the church world, a lot of people don't understand is there's a lot of business there, and catering to churches can probably help you pay your bills.
Oh, it's huge. It's just a big part of our business, and it shows up on our no tax sales on our reports and stuff like that, because that schools. But it's a big percentage of our sales. But then if you move over to the other side of the business, of course we look like a typical pawn shop. We've got chainsaws, weed whackers,
lawnmowers,
really nice selection of guns and mowers, and a lot of that stuff seasonal, like air conditioners and mowers and stuff, and we'll store that in the winter, and then we'll roll it out in the spring. We'll build it up. But on the jewelry side, I've got a full-blown jeweler, Whitney, that's worked for us for probably going on about 3 years, and she recently completed her GIE training, which I did in the early 90s as well, Gemological Institute of America. So diamond certification, diamond grading, type stuff, so we can do a full-blown appraisal. So I wanted to learn all of that, because if somebody brings in a really, really nice carat diamond ring, you don't want to insult them and loan them $50 like that. I think that's a misconception of a pawn shop, is somebody's going to bring this in and it's worth $500 and I'm going to loan $50 on it. No, if you loan $500 and they pick it up, you're going to make more money on the back end.
Absolutely. And explain that a little bit deeper.
Well, if you loan $50, they'd pay you $60 to pick it up in Tennessee, and if you loan $500, they're going to pay you $600 to pick it up. And if it's
simple math,
it's just simple, and it's just I don't know, a give and take on stuff like that. I mean, we don't that old adage in the pawn shop of buy low and sell high, that don't work anymore, man. Everybody's got a smartphone. They pull it up. They know what. Basically, they can tell basically what the value of stuff.
Well, you get good deals, but your job isn't completely to. I think a lot of times people have a misconception that pawn stores are there to just screw you,
rip you off,
and we
that's not the case with.
We deal with a lot of pawn stores that's not their MO.
No,
because I know we personally don't do business with those type of stores, but there's a lot of pawn stores that they want you to come back. So they're going to treat you respectful. They're going to be fair with you. They're going to give you the most that they can possibly give. Of course, they've got to keep their doors open and they've got to do smart business. But like you said, if it's worth $500, you're going to give them $500 because you're going to get $600 back.
And a lot of that depends on, especially if you're taking jewelry, how quick we think we can turn it, or how desirable it is, or if it's in style, because white gold's really big and yellow gold's not right now. And if it's a custom piece that's, like I've had one time a guy come in and pawn this real expensive horseshoe ring with all this horse stuff on it. Well, not everybody's going to want a horseshoe ring with horse stuff on it. I mean, a horse person would, but somebody
kinda
else wouldn't.
And
just kind of, you got to look at what you can resell it for and stuff like that. But we'd much rather, and that's what you said is, we'd much rather people pick the item up and repawn it and pick it up than us to have it and sell it.
Yeah.
It's just easier because you're constantly turning your money, just like your inventory. And
exactly.
And I think that's one thing that was really hard for me to get to understand is you get emotional with your inventory.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'd like to think I'm completely over that. I wouldn't. My employees would probably laugh at me when they, But
it's hard, huh?
It is, and I'll give you just a quick example. I had a customer come in a couple of days ago, and we had a new Marshall lamp, and I still had the old price on it. They've raised their prices, and I still cut it, and I sold it below map a little bit and made some money, and I didn't care. Just get it in, get it out.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I just, now, back in the 90s or probably early 2000s, I'd have been, no, I ain't selling.
You're holding out, huh?
Yeah. But, you got to do what you got to do.
You got to make money.
You just got to turn. He's a good customer, and who cares?
Yeah. I'm interested. So if that's your approach, you'd rather have them come back and get it out. What's the percentage of people that actually do come back and get it back?
I think it varies, but I'd say overall, in all three of our stores, some stores are a little higher than others, but if you averaged all three of them, probably about 65%, maybe 60%. Okay. And you do want people to come back and get their stuff. And sometimes people honestly forget, like, if they pawn a chainsaw, I mean, how often do you use a chainsaw? It might be sitting in your garage, and then when a tree falls or something, you go, oh, man, I got to get my chainsaw, and they'll forget stuff. So luckily, we're on this program now that sends out text to everyone. And if you can get the right phone number and they can have that phone number, that works like a champ a lot of times. It's just a friendly reminder, and
that's good.
We try to do that a couple of times before we pull the item, so.
Okay. Yeah.
But in Tennessee, and I don't know how most of the other states it works like this, but in Tennessee, if you pawn something, you have a 30-day contract to come back and get it, then legally we had to hold it for 30 more days before we can sell it.
Okay.
So
and is that so they can do kind of a background to make sure?
Yeah, the first 30 days, even if we buy something to resell, we have to hold it 30 days by Tennessee state law.
And that
allows the police to we email them everything that we pawn or buy. Well, they get a copy of it. It's got a serial number on it. It's got the person's ID. So that gives them a chance to match up if anything's stolen or if anything's fishy about it or something like that.
And that's good that you bring that up because a lot of times people that don't know the pawn industry, they just think of that's a place where people take stolen goods
they
at,
come
and
in
it's
every
not
day.
true.
Yeah, they come in every day and look for stolen stuff, and it's kind of funny because I keep a file on the desk at each store, and it's less than 1%. It's, I don't know, maybe less than 0.5% each year. We might have 8 or 10 items each store, and we're doing thousands of pawns.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's just a real small percentage of what it is.
So it's a trustworthy place to buy as well.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people don't really realize that, and there's a little bit of a fear there. But going to a pawn store and buying stuff is a good avenue. It's a good place to go.
Well, that's one reason we've always wanted to kind of educate ourselves and want to take the high road. Like, like I said, in the 90s, we went to several sound schools and went to rigging schools, and PV had some schools on sound and stuff. And and then also we educated ourselves in jewelry. I mean, we've got diplomas from jewelry repair school, and we got a jeweler, and we can grade diamonds. And, I can give you an appraisal, and it's just as good as anybody with a GA cert. So.
And that helps both on the buying and selling to make sure that you don't get ripped off when you buy something, and you don't rip somebody off when you sell it.
You can get hammered on diamonds.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's so much stuff happening in that business.
Watches.
Now, we could do a whole show on an hour.
Yeah, Rolex watches.
Diamonds,
I bet you got to be up on that.
Sure, yeah. You got to know how to take them apart and read the serial number and...
Yeah, it's a lot more complicated than people think.
Yeah, from a musical standpoint, if that's the 30 days is the law in Tennessee, music stores don't have to do that.
No,
if I walk into a music store and trade it in, they can turn around and sell it that day.
I'm glad you brought that up because our competition, they don't have to do that. Like if you buy... Even a jewelry store, when they was in the height of the gold business, when they was buying a lot of gold, they wouldn't hold it for 30 days. They'd turn around and melt it in next week or something. Well, if it was stolen, then that wouldn't give anybody a chance to find it.
No,
it's gone.
It's gone.
Or the same way with a guitar. If you sold a guitar and you put it out on the shelf and somebody bought it, boom, it's gone. And
well, I know out in Arizona, we in our music store, I think it was 13 days. I know that's a weird number, but I think we had to hold stuff for 13 days. And we had these little forms that we had to fill out.
Yeah.
And then we had to hold them. Yeah. And so we had to do that.
And there's lots of ways you can tell if stuff's
all
stolen.
states are different.
Oh, sure.
I mean, if you've worked in the business, there's a lot of ways you can tell. I mean, if somebody brings in a
someone walks in and looks like a crackhead, might be
80s
stolen.
Les Paul custom and can't play it, and where'd you get this at? Well, my granddaddy gave it to me or something.
Yeah.
And I want $50.
Yeah, I want
$50
for it.
Holding the guitar out.
Yeah. I mean, there's ways. It's not rocket science.
Now, how do you guys protect yourself overall? That could be laptops. It could be, like I mentioned, Rolex watches. How do you guys protect yourself for not getting burned? I mean, that's got to be, as an owner, that's got to be difficult because you got staff that you have to rely on to make sure that they do their job to make sure that you're not getting burned as well.
I mean, and when we do occasionally take something we have a problem with, or if it's stolen, most of the times it's in a family, like somebody stole something from their uncle, or they stole it from their grandparents, or they stole it from their mom and dad.
Yeah.
Then their mom and dad comes in, and I mean, it's always been our policy. We don't want it if it's not ours, you know, and we don't just hand it over to them. We usually get the police involved and hand it over to them, or go through the due process. And then sometimes the parents will bail little Johnny out, and they'll come in and, enable them some more. And
enable them some more.
Yeah, it's sad, man.
They need to crack them upside the head.
Well, with all the issues with the pharmaceutical world going on now, and all the stuff that we're facing as a country, I mean, that's I think that's one of our biggest challenges. Is a lot of people's not talking about it, but it's
a lot of people are peeled up.
Oh man, there's a lot of people out there on something.
Yeah. Man, I was on the phone with a client one day, and he got upset. All of a sudden, it was Perry.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What's wrong?" He goes, "I just lost $1,000." I was like, "You lost $1,000?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "The Rolex we just took in this morning showed up on the stolen goods list or something like that." And I was like, well, what, and he was upset because somebody at his store didn't go check that list. So is that what you're constantly having to do?
Well, we send in McMinnville and Manchester, we in Tullahoma as well, we send all of our emails into the police every day. They get a copy of it. Now, a couple of those cities send it to a corporation called Leads Online, and that goes across the nation. So if like somebody in Atlanta stole 6 Rolexes out of a jewelry store or something, it'll pop up when we take it. Now, I don't know it on the front end. I don't have a way to really determine that except just our instinct.
Yeah.
We can on guns. Now, if we buy a gun, and we can run the serial number through the TBI.
Gotcha.
Give you a free serial number check.
And you'll know. So if it comes out clear there, you're good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good to go.
But like you said, thankfully, that's such a minute part of your business.
Yeah.
But you still have to protect yourself.
And some pawn shops run their guns on the front end before they even take a pawn. And
that's a good idea.
It is a good idea.
Yeah.
And we should do it, I guess, but we just don't. Or I guess you could do it on something you was kind of leery of or something like that.
No, that's a good idea.
We've had a lot of success not taking stolen stuff over the years.
Sure. Yeah.
Knock on wood.
That's good. Yeah.
But you just got to be diligent and pay attention, be aware of, your customer and that type of stuff.
Yeah. What are some of the unique services that you guys offer? Because when I look at, again, I'm fascinated by the pawn industry because there's so many services and there's so many things that you guys actually do. But what are some of the unique services? Because you do loans. You buy, you sell, loans. I mean, give us a little bit of an idea of all the different things that you do.
I think the pawn industry is still real misunderstood because people just don't understand how it works. But
and they watch reality shows on TV.
They watch the guys out there in Vegas.
Which you really like.
Yeah.
Are we still recording?
There's about 25 to 30% of the population that does not have a bank account. So
I didn't know that. That is mind-blowing.
If they don't have a bank account and they get a payroll check, they got to have a place to cash it, or they just deal strictly in cash. And even there's a lot of old folks that get government checks, Social Security checks and stuff, and they don't have a bank account. Yeah. And some of that's just because they've mismanaged it and had such bad luck with checking accounts over the years, bouncing many checks. And then some of it, people, they just don't trust it, or they just don't do it for some reason or another. Sure. And you see a lot of people going to. There's a lot of little financial places that's popped up, and they've kind of cut into a lot of our. I'd say some of our profit over the years. the AFS peoples and the quick cash people and all those kind of because people will take their checks there and cash them or turn them into a card or
So I view you guys as kind of acting like a bank in a way because you guys have a lot of clients that you talk 25%. Is that what you said?
It's we do 20.
Okay. No. I mean percent of the people that don't have bank accounts.
Oh yeah.
That blows my mind. Yeah. So you guys are giving
higher than that. You
give a huge
average
service, and a lot of people don't understand that a lot of the pawn stores actually act as a bank because you help cash checks.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have a lot of single parents out there, and you take a single mom, and she's doing the best she can, and then the guy don't pay her child support for 2 weeks, and then the kid gets sick, and you got to have $50 for a copay or $100 for a copay and some medicine, and you just got to have some quick cash, and the bank's not going to loan you $100, and if you got bad credit, the financial guys are not going to loan you money, so you got to go somewhere, and that's kind of where we do. I mean, somebody will bring their TV in and get a $100 loan, or they'll take off their wedding band and get a $100 loan, or something
whatever
like
it is. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. I mean, they view, in some cases, the industry as they prey on people. Mm-hmm. I look at it a different way. I think there's a service there that a lot of people don't understand, and that's helping people. Yeah. That's like you talk about a single mom. She has a car issue. She has kids. I mean, in school they're always asking for money and books and this and all this. Sure. So a mom's got to be overwhelmed, and if she doesn't get a child support check and she's $100 low before next paycheck, she's got to do something. Yeah. And what a relief to walk in and go, well, man, I have a TV I'm really not using. I'm gonna take it in and I'm gonna loan it out for a minute, and I actually get this burden taken off me because I have nowhere to go. And I think a lot of times people don't understand that.
And some of our customers are real appreciative, and they do. And we've got a great relationship with us. I mean, they'll pawn something, they'll come back and get it, pawn it, and come back and get it. And that's what we want. Yeah, that's what
you
we
want them to come back.
That's what we want. We don't want somebody coming in there. And I think it's the hardest thing for our employees to distinguish, or any pawn shop to distinguish, if somebody's trying to sell something or if they actually want to pawn it and pick it up. And a lot of people don't understand the difference. They don't know the difference.
And what is the difference? Explain the difference.
If you sell something, you just sell it to us, and we're going to keep it, and we'll hold it 30 days, and we'll resell it. If you pawn it, you have that option to pick it back up.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get really confused on that, and they just don't understand how a pawn shop works. And we want people to come back and get it. We try to explain that to like a lot of our first-time customers, but it's just sometimes people get it, sometimes they don't. It's just hard. But I think that's the biggest challenge for pawnbrokers is just qualifying people, seeing what they want to do, or being aware. If they come in and they say, "Well, what can I get the most money on if I buy it or sell it?" Well, right then they don't care if they come back and get it or not. Or they'll come in and say, "Well, I just bought a new guitar and I've got these 2 old ones and I want to pawn them." Well, that if they're all dirty and strings are broken, they're not coming back. Yeah. No, you just got to.
So, what percentage of your business, or maybe I shouldn't say percentage of business, but how many loans do you want out? Is the goal for you to increase your loans out, because that's kind of how you manage your business?
Yes, we try.
And you have cash flow.
Yes, we try to grow that loan base, but it's tough in a small town and where we're at. And I think another thing that's really tough on us in a small town is just the quality of items that people bring in.
Okay.
If everybody was bringing in a carat diamond ring and a 76 Les Paul custom or something, it'd be easy peasy all day long. But if somebody brings in a sack of 100 DVDs that we're selling for $1 a piece, and then they bring in some tools from Harbor Freight that you can go get a Sawzall from Harbor Freight for $19.99 and a free tape measure or something. I mean, you don't have a whole lot of.
That sounds great.
You don't have a lot.
I'm excited.
You don't have a whole lot of room to wiggle room on something like that. But sometimes that's all they have, and that's kind of what we're struggling with right now at our 3 stores. I mean, it's just trying to keep our loan base growing and finding good items to pawn. And
that's why we've been such a huge success with the pawn industry is we actually provide an avenue for variety and to keep people's music walls kind of fresh looking.
Sure. Yeah, because they got to sell as well, not just, I mean, pawn and loan is part of it, but sales is a percentage of your business as well, isn't it?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'd say if we broke it down, and it's probably what we pawn is going to follow this real close, but in our sales department, or 30% of our sales is music and 30% is jewelry, and then the rest is all divided up with guns and tools and electronics. Electronics is pretty strong. It might be 22%, and then the rest of it's going to go down. And we've seen a little bit decrease in guns in the last couple of years. They're just not.
It kind of goes in cycles.
It goes in cycles, and it's not as popular as it was. Well, the prices of guns a lot of the new guns have come down and stuff like that as well, and I think it's more
funny
demand,
how
more supply than demand.
And it's funny how politics, and again, I don't want to get into all the politics,
but it drives
the market,
Sure,
and so like when gun sales go down, I mean, they're like, who can we get in office to scare everybody that we're going to take all their guns
Everybody's
away?
pretty relaxed about everything right now. And the price of ARs have went way down, and
and the same thing with
like
gold. I mean, the gold is economy driven as well.
Sure.
And so your industry went. What was the highest gold got? Was it over 2,000?
It was getting close to 2,000. I don't think it ever got there. Maybe around 1,750, 1,800.
I know it was in the 18s.
It was strong. Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we have a dealer, and I'm not going to name his name because I don't want to give him the credit. He's actually a smart guy. That's as far as I'll go. When it was, I think it was $565, he told me, he said, you need every penny you have, you need to buy some gold. Right. Man, I should have done it. He was right. But again, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to give him any credit.
Right.
The heck with him.
It's going up. Yeah. It's going up. It's crazy. It is.
Would you say that most pawn shops are kind of in that same percentage? When you said 30% is music, is MI in your store, man, that's strong. I was impressed.
No, that's
really strong.
Kind of I think that would be a rarity. I would think it'd be maybe more tools, because probably at one of our other stores, and I'm talking about that Tullahoma store when I'm probably saying that, our other stores are it'd probably be more like a 20%, and tools might be 25 or 30%.
Yeah.
And then in one town we've got it's really, really strong with guns. They might be 25% in guns or 30% guns down. But at Tullahoma we're just kind of keep that stocked more than other stores.
Well, it's impressive. It's impressive, actually, just what you've said over the years of the new lines that you guys have carried. So obviously, music has been a big part of your locations, anyways. So
do you have multiple stores because maybe multiple locations have different items that sell better?
I don't,
or is it just demographics?
I don't know how we got in all that, but it's really helped. Since we opened that Mac Memble store, we're trading a lot of stock. Like if we have something at that store that won't sell, I'll bring it to Manchester. And we've had a lot of customers from Mac Memble over the years that come to Manchester and vice versa.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of working really well. Like, I had a lady come down there the other day and bought some violins from us.
Okay.
From Mac Memble, because we didn't have any there. And then, we'll have customers from Manchester that'll go up there and buy stuff. So it's worked out well. Same thing with Tullahoma. I mean, we're all within... Manchester's 20 miles from Mac Memble and 11 miles from Tullahoma, so I'm kind of right in the middle, and I go back and forth.
Well, let's talk about your new store, because what kind of pops into my head is it's got to be difficult. And again, I'm assuming, so you can give me a little bit of a backstory here. It's kind of got to be difficult for Zach, being a young guy. He's been around the industry from years as a little kid and being around it, but it's kind of got to be difficult for him to be the lone wolf up there, right?
He's the man up there right now.
But he's doing a good job. I mean, is that because
an excellent job,
is it because the way you guys train and teach people down?
I think he's went to several pawn seminars over the years since he was young age, and he probably gets it a lot better than I do as far as turning inventory and turning merchandise.
What I like about Zach,
he will really turn some stuff. If he can make some money on it, he does not get emotional.
Really,
he will let it rip. It don't matter.
What's interesting about Zach is it's kind of funny is when you're talking with him, he's very unassuming. But there's a part of it where I'm like, this kid's smarter than he's letting on.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Might be smarter than his own man.
well, hey, then you trained him right?
I don't know, but
he's got a good mom.
That's exactly right. She's got the brains of the family and the athleticism. That's where Izzy gets it. It's not from me.
Yeah. So how is Zach being successful up there?
I think just he will take a chance on pawning certain items, like somebody might come in with a rusty bucket of tools or something, and he told me the other day, I think he loaned this guy like $200 on some tools, and they were just wasn't in that good a shape, and they were just didn't look good, and he just took a chance, and the guy come back to pick them up, and he owed a certain amount of money from him, and he didn't have it, and he just let him pick it up because he knew he'd never sell them. He's trying to make a customer, and a lot of times you just got to take a chance like that in the pawn business, and if they come out, you might not sell them, but for $210 or $215, or you might sell them for $175 and lose $25. But he don't worry about that. He's looking at the average of everything, and that's real smart because it's kind of the same way if you're selling something on eBay. You might not get what you want to get for that item, but if you sell enough of it, it's going to average out over time if you can keep turning it. I put some stuff on there the other day you might have been interested in. I had a dog collar tracker that was about a $400 item, and it was brand new in a box, and I got $105 for it.
How come you didn't call me?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know. I've lost my mind.
I mean, you're just downright crazy. He was like,
so you never know. But
you never know.
He didn't complain to me about selling it for $105. So we didn't make any money on that, man. I can promise you we didn't. We lost her.
I'd have probably gave you $125.
That's right. You know, everybody thinks, though, in business, whether you just got a music shop or a pawn shop or whatever, they think you just go out in the backyard and pick money off trees. They don't understand the cash flow. I think the cash flow is the biggest challenge for us. And we're getting real close to getting it fine-tuned. I don't know if there's such thing if you can never get your cash flow completely fine-tuned, but those big bills will slip up on a small business, and they just hit you in the back of the head and just kill you. Like
I know.
Insurance, for instance. I
was going to say, loaning out, you guys want to loan a lot out.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, you're going, oh my goodness, there's a balance between loaning it out and keeping the doors open. I'll never forget a pawn guy out in Texas. I was talking with him at one of the trade shows, and maybe we'll touch on trade shows in a minute. And he was sitting there, and he was telling me, I forget, it was like $350,000 that he had out at this one small location, and he says, well, I want to get $500,000, and I'm like going, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
And I'm like, you've got to be, but he was promoting giving more out.
We've got a staggering amount of money tied up in pawns, what we've got out on the street or what's on loan at 3 locations or inventory. And I try to keep my eye on that inventory number because you want to keep it down to a manageable level, and that's another thing. It's hard, and that's what affects your cash flow too. You got to get that stuff out.
Is there seasons and time where you go, man, I got to cut back on loaning money because I ain't got the cash flow?
Well,
is it like summer?
You can think that way, but that just don't always work. Because, man, if you start choking your loans back, somebody's going to go somewhere else. There's always somebody down the street that seems like they're going to loan them $5 more. Like, if you can loan $30 on this and you try to choke it back to $20 and they leave, they might not ever come back again. And that's really, really, really what we struggle with, too. It's tough. Or if you've got 20 chainsaws over there, like pooling chainsaws, it's worth about $50 or $40, and you just kind of cringe when somebody brings them in, and somebody brings you another pooling in, and you're sitting there going, oh, no. Something else. That's all they got. You got to roll with it, and then just have a clearance sale on them, and you might have $35 or $40 average in all those chainsaws. You might sell them for 25 or 30 piece and lose money, but what are you going to do? I mean, you just got to get in and out and hope for that your averages will pull you over.
I didn't think about that.
I think that's what most pawn shops struggle with is stuff like that. Or you might have 10 Squire guitars hanging on the wall.
And they're all black.
They're all black and they're beat up, and everybody's selling them brand new for what, $129 now, $119 for a cheap Squire or whatever they're getting for them now. And you got 10 of them sitting there, and somebody brings another one into pawn, you're going,
Well,
it's hard.
What are you going to do?
Over the years, have you guys really incorporated online selling to get rid of some of your product?
Yes, we have, and it's working really well, but it's hard. I mean, I've had some really good success with Reverb, and you guys turned me on to those folks. I'd never even heard of them until a couple of years ago, and had some really, really, really good success with those guys, especially on our higher end. Nicer products like we've had some really nice old Fenders come through there, and some nice old Martins, and I've got a nice old Gibson on there right now, 62 Gibson.
Wow.
like a J50, and if you get something like that. And the thing I really like about Reverb is they protect their dealers.
Yes.
You guys probably know how that
I agree
works.
with you.
I mean, we sent off a, golly, what was that guitar? We sent off that time and it got chipped.
Was it a Charvel?
Was it Jackson?
It was
Jackson
old Jackson, beautiful old 80s vintage Jackson, and it had a little bitty nick on it in the box where it kind of got bruised, and it chipped some of the paint off. And man, they took care of everything on it. The customer sent it back. I had it redone.
Yeah.
You guys helped me out with that, and then we sent it back, and the customer was just so happy. I mean, he was just so happy when we got it, and so. Yeah. I mean, unlike eBay, if you send something on eBay and it gets chipped, hey, call UPS, and then UPS will call eBay. It's round and round.
eBay's not in the business.
They don't care, man. No, and there's so much fraud and stuff on eBay too. You really got to watch it with music stuff.
I agree.
You got to watch it.
Yeah.
So that's why I went kind of all Reverb net. But the best thing I think we sell on eBay is just tools, because you can't scam somebody on a Snap-on tool. Like we sell a lot of ratchets or Snap-on or Mac or something like that, and that's just, or silver coins. I mean, it's a coin. I mean, hey,
it's kind of hard to fraud.
You can't take the tubes out of a Snap-on ratchet and or pull a vintage part off of it and go, well, this ain't what I expected, then send it back, and then you're.
It's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, so, and that, unfortunately, that's never happened to me, but there's a lot of horror stories out there with that.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
You guys have heard.
Yeah, we had a dealer. I talked to a dealer recently that I don't remember if it was a camcorder or it was some part that he something that he sold, and somebody literally took a couple parts off of it to fix theirs, and they sent it back to him, and actually eBay wouldn't protect the guy. The guy's like, man, this was working, it was fine. This person actually took a few parts off of it and sent it back, and he had to give him all that.
The buyer has all the power now.
I'm very opinionated when it comes to this. So I've bashed FedEx on here, I'll bash eBay. The heck with eBay. Anyways, all right. Difficulties of running a pawn store. I think that's a topic that we should touch on, because that's got to be, we've talked about that. There's a lot that we've talked about right here. But what are some of the difficulties of it? I mean, you talked about the loans, balancing your in and out go.
I think electronics is a big challenge, because everybody's got a TV and everybody's got a PlayStation. Or something to that effect, or a little Nintendo device or a little tablet or something like that. And the challenges on that is the fall in prices. When technology comes out, like you might have a curved TV and it might come out and it might be $1,500 at Electronic Express, and you turn around 6 months later, it's $799 or something. Exactly. And if somebody buys it for $1,500, bless their heart, they come in, they want to. $1,500 figures in their mind, and then you're trying to negotiate with it, and you have to. What we try to do, and sometimes it works and sometimes it don't, but we literally pull it up and get 2 or 3 places online and spin the screen around and show the customer, look, this is what they're selling for at this point in time. This is all we can do. And some people get it and they go, yeah, you're right. And
they understand.
I'll take what I get. And then you got some people that still. If they paid $1,500 for it, to them it's worth $1,500. Period. It don't matter if they had it 10 years. I mean, they don't understand depreciation, or it's got bugs crawling out of it. I think that's electronics is a challenge, and what's going on with the diamonds in the diamond industry is probably going to be a challenge, because we're going to start seeing more and more lab-grown diamonds. They're typically they're a diamond. They'll test like a diamond, but they're lab grown, lab created.
Wow! And explain that.
So they got the technology now, man, where they can do the heat and the pressure on these things.
How long does it take
to grow from a crystal? They'll put like a little seed in there and grow it. I couldn't explain it that quick. I just seen some videos and attended some seminars on it, but that's going to be pretty scary, because if they start flooding the market with that, De Beers don't have any control over.
So how do you
used to? So
how do you know?
They've got some machines out now. They're about $5,000 if you want to buy one to test it. But who's got $5,000 laying around to test something like that? I mean, there's some ways you can tell by looking at it. If it's stamped on the edge of the girdle, sometimes they'll have a serial number on it, or they'll say lab grown, or they'll have the manufacturer's name on it. But there's going to be some unscrupulous people that's doing that. That's going to be passing them off. putting them in parcels with real diamonds, and they're mounted up in rings, and who's going to know? You bring it in, put it on your diamond tester, boom, it's going to test like a diamond. So that's pretty scary.
That is
and I don't know where all that's headed at, or what that's going to do to the value of.
So the gem industry, they don't see that as a real diamond.
Well,
I thought you were saying
is.
that
You
they
would have
were,
to. You would technically have to send it. I think right now, if you didn't have one of those machines, you'd have to send it to GIA, to a lab, and have it graded for them to tell you. And I don't know how they're doing it, but I think technology will catch up with that. Because like several years ago, they come out with moissanite. Just like a diamond. You've heard of that. Before that, it was cubic zirconium, and they had testers that would pop up, and they were real expensive, and then the price come down. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Right. Cubic zirconium, man, that was always
the
great.
CZs.
The girls never knew the difference when you gave them those rings.
I think that's a funny story about a pawn shop is every now and then, it don't happen very often, but some poor lady will be going through a divorce, and she'll have a ring her husband gave her, and she'll bring it in, and it won't be a real diamond. And he told her it was a real diamond. No,
worst
you
time
got to go through that, and
out.
you just kind of feel sorry for them, and you don't want to, it's just, you can just see the look in their face.
You're like,
that's terrible.
That's got to be a drag, man.
Know,
you're like, why do I have to break the news to them?
Yeah.
Well,
that happens. I mean,
Yeah.
Then sometimes ladies that have some really, really nice jewelry, they're going through a divorce, and they don't care if they sell it for $50 because they hate their husband so bad. They'll bring it in. So
they're like, the heck with you.
I don't care what you give me for it. And you're going, cha-ching.
Yeah, actually give me less so I can tell him, No, that's crazy.
Man, would this be a good time to ask him for a good crazy story or an outlandish story?
Sure.
Something that's happened at one of your stores over the years that it's always a good story to tell.
Well, my dad, back in the 80s, when he was, active and running the store and everything, he had this couple that used to come in all the time, and this fella had a pacemaker put in. And then so the poor guy passed away a few months later, and his wife had the funeral home take the pacemaker out. She brought the pacemaker in.
What?
Are you kidding me?
What?
Trying to pawn it, and he's going, "Oh, hon, we can't take that." Gosh, it was just
really
that's one that really pops out in my mind. But that was back in the 80s. Yeah.
Oh
it's
man,
pretty sad. I mean, it's like, man, come on.
That's cold blooded.
I mean, it's pretty bad enough to pull somebody's teeth to get the gold.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
and we bought a lot of gold teeth, especially during the gold boom.
You're kidding me?
Oh no. And that can get pretty gross too.
Are you kidding me?
Gold tooth. No.
Dude, that's
gross.
That sounds like movie stuff.
Well, it happens. I mean, everybody's.
Well, I mean, maybe they think, what the heck? I mean, I might as well have instead of it in the ground, right?
Well, that's several $100s for a gold cap tooth or a gold tooth. I mean,
But I mean, that's kind of
18 karat gold, man. 16 karat gold.
Yeah,
it is disgusting, especially if it's got the root hanging down.
Yeah,
you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
You gotta be. There's no way.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
you got to take a hammer and pick it out, man. And then weigh it. You got to get the true gold weight there. You can't.
Well, you got the guy. The mortician's in there. He probably doesn't care. He's eating a sandwich and got a pair of pliers. He don't care.
We got to get off the gross train, though.
Yeah, man.
well, that's probably some of the funniest stories out there is the grossest stuff. But.
Yeah.
Bathroom humor for these guys.
Yeah, really. Well, let's talk. We're going to have a few more things to talk about, and one is employees. I want to kind of talk about maybe your employee training, some of the things that go on, because, like I said, we've talked about all the different areas of a pawn shop and what they've got to know. So what are some of the expectations of the employees that you have on their knowledge, what their day-to-day looks like? Because it's got to be kind of complicated.
I think one of the biggest challenges for any small business is keeping and retaining employees, because you're fighting so many different people. And I think the hardest thing about a pawn shop is, I always tell everyone when I hire them, it takes a good year just to get your feet under you. You don't know what's going on. And unfortunately, when customers come in, if they always go to the new person, because they don't know what's going on, and they're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
They're either going to loan too little, not take it, or loan too much. I mean, they just don't know what's going on, and I think that's probably the biggest challenge. And like I was telling you guys before we started the show, when I drove down here today, it's a big billboard for Amazon starting at $15 an hour, and a lot of our older people are making that or more than that. But just, you can't start somebody off in a small business. It's pretty tough to start somebody off at $15 an hour.
It's hard.
It's real hard, but we do have some really good plans in place, thanks to some consultant work that I had done several years ago, and we've got really, really good commission plan in place, and we've got a little SEP plan, savings employee plan, pension plan in place.
Yeah, that's good.
We don't do health insurance, but we've got several days of vacation built in and stuff like that. We try to do as best we can. But if you want to talk about that commission plan real quick, we pay on every pond they make. We pay on their loans, we pay on service fees collected, we pay on sales, and we pay on layaways. So you total all of those up, and you might have so much business that week, and it goes on a scale. So I think the minimum you got to do is maybe $3,500 or $4,000 or something like that, and you'll get a percent or 1.5%, or maybe it starts at 2%. I should have brought that scale in where I could have told you guys, and it graduates up. So it goes to 2.25% and 2.5%. So if you
got some incentives,
and it's built in, and the more loans they make, or the more sales they make, or the more money they bring in on layaway or something, it just goes to their bottom line. And a good employee will probably average $100 a week, maybe a little bit more. And then when they really have a good week, like say Danny goes out and does a big installation, or jewelry sells, or Whitney sells a big piece of jewelry or something like that, they might get $150, $175 on top of what we're paying them per hour.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, and it works out pretty good. It's just kind of like dangling the carrot type of deal.
Well, it keeps them in letting the customers know, hey, come back, or if you ever need my help, or there's a lot of good sales incentives in there.
And if we're real close, like if somebody's real close, like within $20 or $25 or payroll person, Sandra does, she'll
she'll bump them up.
Yeah.
If you're
that's
taking
care of them.
Yeah,
that's good.
And if you've worked for us for a year, you get a week of vacation. Then if you work for us for 2 years, you get 2 weeks plus we match up to 5% of what you want to put in your check in your SEP.
Okay.
Wow,
so we got some people taking advantage of that. So if they put $50 a week in out of their check, we put $50 a week in out of the check, and
that's amazing. That's good.
Or percentage wise.
You got any job applications? I got my pen right here.
Well, if you start those plans early when you're young and start saving money and not draw it out, and you can really get ahead. When you get my age, you'll be glad you did it, because you can't start when you can start when you're in your 50s, but golly,
you're behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, man, it's hard. It's so important to save money.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you're treating them right, because it sounds like quite a few of your employees have been there for a long time.
We have, and we try to be laid back. I mean, if somebody needs some time off, we always trying to shuffle stuff around. I'll give you a good example. We've got a great employee in Manchester, Juan, and he'd run out of his vacation time this year, but he had some tickets to see the World Cup in Russia.
Wow.
What?
So the cat had saved his money up, and he bought these tickets, and he went to Russia, and he stayed over there probably 10 days or 14 days or however long it was. Because, could you imagine traveling from Manchester, Tennessee to Russia by yourself?
Wow, yeah.
And he's got some great stories and great pictures, but I was happy for him to go, and I didn't care for him to take off. And, it's a once-in-a-lifetime trip.
Absolutely.
How much, you ain't going to leave alone, it'd be hard enough to buy the tickets.
Yeah.
And,
that's kind of cool, yeah.
So, we try to accommodate people when we can on stuff like that. And we've got some single moms working for us, and if a kid gets sick, you got to...
You just got to be flexible.
You got to be flexible.
Well, it creates loyalty, so they're going to give it back to you. They're going to work harder.
Hey, if you're at Nissan and your kid gets sick and you're on your shift, they don't care.
Yeah.
You better be bolting up that car there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting your rivets out there.
Yeah.
Because we've had some people that's worked in factories before, and they've come back and worked for us, and it's night and day. Factory work's tough. It's not for everybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's probably one of our biggest competitions would be Nissan and some of the car industries in Middle Tennessee, because they pay people well.
They do.
You'll work your butt off in there.
Absolutely.
And they don't want to hear a bunch of crying, and if you ain't putting out, there's a door.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, what about the future of not only your locations but the pond industry? What are some areas that you think you can improve in, or where do you see yourself going down, or where do you even see the pond industry as technology is changing everything?
Pond industry's been around for thousands of years. It's been around since biblical days. They talk about people loaning money to people in getting money back and stuff. So I think it's going to be around forever. I think the challenge in small cities like where we're at, we don't have the population to draw from, and just getting a quality amount of goods to pawn.
Yeah.
And then that also goes back into retail, because you got to have some kind of quality stuff, because we've got certain people that come in every week and they're looking for tools, or they're looking for guns, or they're looking for guitars.
Okay.
You know, and there's some pickers out there too, and they're wanting a deal, and they'll take the stuff and resell it. And I don't care if we can make some money on it. I really don't care. Now, back a few years ago, that used to aggravate me.
Yeah.
I used to get all worked up about it.
Really?
But now I just don't care. If I can make some money, go it for it. And if you want to take it out, schlep it out to a flea market, and you're going to make $10 or $20 on it, or $50,
God bless you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good for you.
Yeah. Get it
but
out of here.
I used to get all lathered
Give
up
me my
about
money
that.
and get it out of here. Yeah.
I used to just would tear me up. That, you know what I mean? And I think that was part of that old school, me being raised in the pawn shop in the 78, you know, from in the 80s.
Times.
Yeah, in the 80s and stuff. It was just, this is my price, and I'm going to hold out for it till somebody buys it. And that just don't work nowadays. And I had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
Thanks to Jerry Whitehead.
Jerry Whitehead.
He pulled me through on that.
We call him Jerry Whitebread.
That's right.
Well, that's got to be one of the best ways to have repeat customers, though.
It
if
is.
they feel like they can come in and find decent deals, or for whatever reason they might want them for.
And it's a fine line, too, with those guys, because some of the employees get aggravated at them because they'll hammer them on the price. And we try to keep that policy. If we put something out on the store, we try not to cut it for the first 30 days, because you want other people to look at it.
Sure,
you don't want the cherry pickers to come by and just
wipe it out,
pick all of your good stuff out and buy all your Snap-on tools when bona fide mechanic or somebody wanting to build their tool inventory could come in and buy it or whatever. And same way with putting stuff on eBay or online. If we get a nice guitar, I want it to sit there for at least 30 days before I put it on Reverb. Or
well, it makes your store look good too.
Yeah, because you know, there's another saying in the pawn industry: likeness attracts likeness. If you've got a couple of Rolex watches sitting around in your case, somebody will bring you a Rolex watch in. Or if you got a nice guitar. But in our neck of the woods, we don't get many Rolexes. In small town USA. No, man.
Bunch of quartz, Casios.
Casio watch, man.
Bunch of fake fossils.
Fossils, my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, me. I think that, though, is one of our biggest challenges, is just getting good quality stuff to loan on. I mean, you know, and it's just, you can't be too picky, because sometimes that's all people have. It's just tough, you know.
Yeah, got to take care of the people.
Yeah. You're trying to anyway.
So the future, you don't think is going to change too much? It's always been there.
I don't think so.
I
just kind of feel like there's just so much competition. We're just kind of getting squeezed from all sides. But I know everybody's in the same boat in small business, I think. I mean, I don't think it's just me. And I don't want to sound like I'm crying about it, but it's just true. I mean, we're getting squeezed from which you can sell stuff for, new retail or used. Because if you're selling something used, you better have a good price on it. If you're not, people's just going to buy it new. And I guess another point, and I know a lot of pawnbrokers know this, but a lot of that stuff, electronics, is disposable. If it's nicked up or it's got a little blip on it or something, just throw it in the trash and buy a new one. Nobody cares.
That is the attitude.
That's the attitude.
That is the attitude. I had a TV that went out.
Fix stuff like
I had a
that
TV
anymore,
that went out, and I actually got online and looked up TV repairman, and I thought there was one over here in Cool Springs. I mean, this was a couple years ago, and I called the number. And it said the phone number was disconnected. They had the website still up, you know, and then through the process, it just dawned on me that it would cost as much to fix that thing as it would to just go buy a new TV.
And you could almost say the same thing in a lot of the electronic music part of it. If you, I don't know, some of that stuff's fixable, like if you got a tube amp and stuff. There's a lot of people still working on those, but if you've got a digital piano or something like that that's 4 or 5 years old, I don't think it would be worth, my opinion, would be worth fixing stuff, unless you're sentimental about it or something. But you don't know anybody working on a digital piano, do you?
Thankfully.
Bring it down here to you guys and tell you to fix it.
And I tell them, pick the door, front door, back door, I don't care, you know.
Just throw it out.
Yeah.
Well, and obviously I was kind of interested just because of we do work with a lot of pawn pawn shops, and we always try to encourage them to, hey, you know what, you should expand your wall, you should buy more guitars and everything like that. So it's encouraging to me that you see the value in selling used instruments and everything like that. So you would kind of, all of those people out there listening, you would kind of encourage people to look that direction, maybe expand their wall, or kind of the MI is a great place for the pawn industry to make money.
I think it goes hand in hand, and if you don't know anything about instruments, maybe you could hire somebody that does, or hire somebody that's got a passion. I mean, a lot of those guys that I've named off, like Randall Cagle's worked for us for several years, and he's a musician.
Yeah.
He works at our Manchester store, and he goes back to MacMill and works there as well. He lives in MacMill. And Zach, my son's a musician. Danny's a musician. Mike Smotherman's a musician. I'm a musician. Jackie, our store manager in Tullahoma's a musician. She sings and she's played in bands and stuff before. So if you're a musician, you just understand that stuff, a lot of that. I mean, I don't think when I was young I got it. I was one of those guys that didn't get it. It took me several years to get it. But if you had a pawn shop and you didn't have somebody working, just, hire a part-time kid or get somebody that's passionate about that and get them to clean your instruments up and tune them and, put some new strings on them buy a new set of strings wholesale for
a couple
of bucks and put them on there, and you'll sell stuff if you do that. But if you just set it up there and it's got dust on it and it's got, we went and, not to change subjects real quick, or change stories real quick, but I went to a pawnbroking convention, the Dixie Pawnbroker Convention this spring, and we took a tour of 3 pawn shops. And I'm not going to, name any names, but one of them had a high-end Taylor guitar sitting in there with a dadgum string off of it, broke, and it was all gunked up, and the strings looked like it hadn't been changed, and had a real high price tag on it. Well, man, I mean, all you'd had to done was polish that thing and put a $2 set of strings on it. Yeah,
because they're desirable guitars. People want to buy those guitars.
I think it was a 600 series or something like that. And I was like, man, I just kind of shook my head, It's like, golly, but it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. And if you don't, get a YouTube video and watch how to tune a guitar or how to change your strings on it.
It's easier now than ever.
It's simple.
Absolutely.
That stuff, there's so much information out there that you can get for free that, is easy. But I think there's a lot of money to be made. But if you're more interested in guns, I mean, that would be your passion. I've got some friends that's got pawn shops, and they do really, really well with guns, and they love guns.
Yeah.
That's more their passion, their stuff. Or jewelry. There's some pawn shops, it's all jewelry now. They just do jewelry. And
you kind of got to go with what you know.
If you're in a big city, I don't think that's going to be successful in a small town with a population like Manchester. We're barely over 10,000. You couldn't do all jewelry. There's not enough of it to, to keep the doors open, and stuff like that. But I think you just kind of follow what you really love or understand or. And there's still a lot of stuff about music that I don't know and don't understand. I mean, you just gotta go with your strong points, I guess.
Yeah.
And, everybody's got their weaknesses and strengths, and we've got some people that's real technical that work for us. That's really good with computers and good with game systems, and they gamers, and they sit around and play that stuff and understand it. I don't know anything about game systems.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Zero.
No, well,
I'm just really weak on that kind of stuff.
Me too.
I can barely hook one up when somebody brings it in. I'm just kind of fumbling
trying to figure it out. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think we've accomplished a lot.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming in, Ken. You've opened up a new demographic of listeners, hopefully, and we appreciate all the knowledge and friendship and
I appreciate you guys. I've been really lucky that you guys are in my backyard, and I've been coming down here for 20 plus years, I guess, and I get the pick of what I call pick of the litter. I can walk around like a lot of the other people that buy from y'all. They just depend on their salesman, I'm sure, and they call the orders in or however that works. And I've just been really, really lucky to be able to come down here, and I appreciate y'all putting up with me for 20 plus years.
We enjoy it.
Coming in the back door unannounced and walking around.
That's right.
But I've got some great deals from you guys over the years, and it's a big, big, big part of our music industry.
Good, we appreciate
music
that.
business. It's just really, really, really big.
Good.
Matter of fact, I'm going to buy some stuff when we wrap this show
up. Let's wrap this up.
Wrap it up.
He's got to buy some stuff.
Time to go shop.
I'm going out there.
Podcast my eye. Let's go sell something.
We'd have to give Uncle Monty a plug, too. I'd tell him I'd appreciate his friendship over the years.
Yes.
always help me out. And he's got some really good musical advice too when people come in and talk to him. He's back in the day too.
Yeah,
had some music stores, so we had to give him a little shout out too.
We do.
Yeah, that's right.
I do.
We try not to do too much, but we do. You got to give him a little plug here and there.
That's right.
All right. Well, wind us down.
Man, well, Ken, we appreciate it. That was another episode. So obviously, anybody listening to this, if you have any input on the pawn industry or have any questions for Ken, man, you can go to the musicretailshow@gmail.com, and man, they can ask questions.
Yeah,
they can
put my link on there, my email. I'd be glad to help anybody.
Yeah, go for it.
Absolutely.
Pawn industry, just kksmusic.com.
Okay.
That's their website, and just go to there and you can find the emails and stuff from there.
So anybody's got questions for Ken, man, I'm sure you'd be glad to help him out, give advice.
We're members of the National Pawnbrokers Association and support those guys, and National Associations of Music Merchants. We're members of that.
Yeah.
Try to support the industry because they do a lot of good stuff. So
good.
We send our dues in. So.
You got to do that.
You do. Okay.
Got to pay those dues.
Well, Ken, we appreciate it, man, and so we hope everybody enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you the next time.